I was speaking to my auntie, and I was saying to her, like, having kids, we want to leave them a legacy. What bloody legacy am I leaving them? Poverty? Struggling? Having to save money? No, I'm not having kids until I'm financially stable.
I'm leaving my kid.
Poverty
legacy.
I've seen people have kids.
In the name of Jesus.
Wait,
that is not a portion.
God forbid.
Because that is crazy.
But when you actually deep
funny.
it, you have people having kids. Oh, I want to have kids. Even legacy. What legacy do you have? Do you own buildings? Do you own properties? Do you own anything to leave them? Or are you leaving them with nothing but debt? What are you actually leaving them with? You have to think about things like this.
Shay is
tired. She is tired today.
You have to deep life. I said I'm not having kids until I am financially stable to leave them something, so they're not having to struggle.
I think it's like some of the weirdest fucking behavior to look at people who don't want to have kids and say that they're selfish, especially in an economy where it costs like $20,000 a year to have one child. Are you gonna pay for it? Are you gonna pay $20K so that I can raise a kid? I certainly can't afford that. A lot of people can't afford that. And a lot of other people don't want to bring kids into a world that is so fucked up. Some people have given up their dream of being parents because of that. So yeah, pretty weird fucking behavior to call people selfish for not wanting to have kids in this current political climate and this economy. Unless you plan on solving all of those problems yourself. Just saying.
I'm never having kids. All my Gen Z friends agree we won't be parents in a world like this. When you consider the economy, the job market, the rising cost of everything, and climate change, what about all of this is supposed to make Gen Z want to have kids? The New York Times is even predicting that the population is going to peak at 10 billion this century and then decline all the way to 2 billion rapidly. Gen Z not wanting to have kids is only a small piece of the puzzle that's going to lead to this massive population decline. Access to food is going to be a bigger and bigger problem every year. This article is from today about Iraq having lost 70% of its farmland. Here's another article from yesterday about how wineries in British Columbia are only producing 1 to 3% of their normal yield because of cold snaps directly caused by climate change. The cold snap also wiped out entire crops of other fruits such as peaches, plums, cherries, and nectarines. 8 to 10 different locations had 100% of their yield destroyed. And this ties right back into the headline from the start. Gen Z doesn't want to have kids because they see the writing on the wall. Gen Z can see that right now it's too expensive to have a kid, and in the future climate change is going to be wreaking havoc on the planet, including destroying the food supply that has supported population growth so far.
The American dream is so dead, people don't even want to pass it on to their own kids. I read an article about how this is the hugest decline, right, in Americans having children. Americans are not having enough children for the first time in history to replace, themselves, right? But why would somebody bring children into this world, in America specifically? Why would you purposely have a baby in America? Why would a woman even do that? You don't have any control over your body. Government has ultimate control over your vessel. Hell, government will even keep you alive as a host when you're dead just to make sure it can force you to give birth to that baby. So I don't see the benefit for women, frankly, to have babies. America is not a place for families. It's obviously not a place for families. It's not set up that way. They tax families into oblivion. So why would you sign up for that? So no, that's why people aren't having babies. America, if you want young people to have babies, how about you make this economy affordable? Because right now it's not. It's really set up just for rich people to have babies. So go have the rich women. Oh, that's right. They don't want to have rich women have a whole bunch of babies because their kids are not going to work in factories and stuff. It's supposed to be our kids work in factories. Like I said, that's why people are not having kids. Why the hell would we have kids? Why would anybody have kids in this environment? Why would anybody have kids in this environment? It's not a good environment for children. So kudos to the young folk. If you smart, keep your dress down and your panties up.
I honestly don't know what my mom thinks she's gonna accomplish by telling me that I'm allowed to date now. Ever since my birthday, she's been like, you're of the age to start thinking about marriage and kids. Kids? Children in 2025. in this economy. What? No, we left having kids in 2024, bro. No. Hey, we have enough kids in the family. I can just be rich Uncle Mofe that comes 3 times a year and buys everybody gifts. That's it, bro. The bloodline doesn't have to continue with me. I have siblings, I have cousins. Please.
So America is waking up to rather a hard truth that we all have to understand that it's not like people don't want kids. It's that the economy itself won't allow it, and the cost of living has gone so high that having a kid turns out to be a liability rather than joy, and it's now evident that it's killing the American dream, you see. So the American dream has now turned into a daily mode of survival, you see. It's like a quest to survive on a daily basis, and now this matter discourages many people from having kids of their own, because taking care of this kid will be another tough experience that most parents or most people feel like it would only seem like bringing an innocent soul to this world only to let them suffer, because most people themselves can't take care of themselves like they would want to. Now you have to imagine if somebody had a kid again in the household. That is one thing that is discouraging most Americans from having kids. And in order to get full insight on this matter, let's watch and understand and hear from other people what they have to say about this matter. So kindly watch with me, and I'll give you my remarks towards the end of the video.
You're pregnant? Oh my God, congratulations, that's amazing. Your second child. That is incredible. I wish you all the best with it. How the fuck can you afford to have a child in this economy? Where are you getting the money?
Why are people having kids in this economy? No, seriously, why are some of y'all having kids in this economy? Because it makes no damn sense for you to be making minimum wage and then you have a whole nother mouth to feed, on top of having your regular bills that keep going up and up and up. There's no way you alone as a single solo person can survive off making $19, $20 an hour. So how the hell are y'all surviving with that income, having multiple mouths to feed? And it be the people who are already struggling choosing to have more kids. And some of y'all be having kids with people you're not even in a relationship with. Y'all be having kids with people you're not even married to. Hell, you're not even engaged to be married to. So the single mothers and the single fatherhood rate is going through the roof. We don't make enough to fucking survive on our own. And y'all have the audacity, the gall to bring another life into this world that you can't even afford with somebody that you do not even love or even in a committed relationship with. I swear, this generation gets dumber and dumber and stupider.
So I just turned 25 this year, and all of my friends are around my age and are all choosing to be childless. Pretty much all of us have plants or pets, but no one is even remotely thinking about having a kid. That makes me think about how, like, we are the generation that is waking up to the myth of the American dream, and we're also not being duped or manipulated or guilt tripped into having kids around this age, because pretty much all of our parents had us by this point and was working on number 2. And it just has me thinking how, like, not only did the American propaganda machine sell us this lie of, like, work hard, go to school, get a job, buy a house, have a family, and it's all gonna work out in that order, they also heavily glamorized parenthood. Like, for me personally, I feel indifferent to babies. Like, I know that it's, like, beautiful, but I don't really see it as that. There's a whole list of reasons why, but chiefly it's climate change. Like, a lot of people are not grasping the impending doom that is climate change. And so when I think about like bringing new life into this world, I'm like, okay, I'm always thinking about like the end, but anyway, back to my point. Like, you see so many people who get the job, right? They go to school, they get a job in their field, and once they have that job, they're like, this is it? I'm stressed, I'm having a politic, code switch, bullshit professional rules, and like you give 40 to 80 hours a week to like this place, and it's just like not all that it was chopped up to be. I feel like so many parents be having the same type of regret. They're like, oh my God, the pregnancy was cute, infant cute, and then like they start wailing or they start pooping or they wake up every 2 hours and you're just like, this is it? And then the emotional labor that goes into raising children as well. Like, it's not just putting a roof over their head and stuff like that. Like, that type of stuff is not, that is not conveyed in the commercialization and propaganda of parenthood. And so I feel like a lot of my peers, especially in our generation, like we're the older Gen Zs, like closer to millennials, but not close to Gen Alpha. We're like, you're not gonna fool me. Some of us might have been fooled by the American dream with the job and shit. Not gonna be fooled with the baby.
Single income, no kids. How y'all doing? Sinks. And that's perfect, because that's what I feel like I'm doing right now, is sinking in this economy. I cannot buy a house. I don't know that I'll ever be able to buy a house. I barely make it. I gave myself $150 to make my house festive for Christmas. And now I'm eating ramen noodles. I know I'm not alone. No, I'm not complaining about my salary. It's pretty good. But my apartment is very expensive. And then I see this girl on here talking about how she's going to challenge herself to use everything in her kitchen before she goes to the grocery store. Is this not what we're doing from week to week? Because I've been playing that game since I moved out of my mother's house. I cannot be alone that I do this every week. Like, let me not go to the grocery store when I can make something that's in my pantry. I don't know. I mean, I am pretty frugal. I mean, we have to be, right? We have to be on a single income. I even feel like people on a dual income have to be frugal right now. We're just all like frugal moogles over here.
I love an author who gets us. Alicia, you're an icon. While the economy isn't the only reason that people don't want kids, it is a big one. And we're almost at the point now where all of the people who are under 50 who don't currently have children, almost half of them say they never want children. And at the end of the day, this is just a result of unchecked capitalism. We have companies raising prices and not raising salaries, destroying the environment while they're doing so, charging young people hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to school in order to get that job, not providing any meaningful parental leave or support, and then they have the gall to be like, why aren't these people having kids?
I want to know what your number one reason is for not having kids.
I just don't want. Is that enough? They're also expensive.
Y'all need to stop having kids you can't afford. As a child that was born into poverty, you're doing nobody a favor. You're setting your kid up to having a harder life. Having a kid right now is just selfish if you're not like crazy rich.
Yeah, as my parents' oldest daughter, I think from when I can remember, I've always been worrying about how I'm going to retire my parents, how I'm going to make sure that they're good. So this has always been on my mind, and unfortunately, I cannot think of any way in which I can retire my parents and make sure that I'm dedicating the time and resources to them if I have children. My parents aging is inevitable, but what I can avoid is the burden of having children. And so, yeah, not that I wanted children anyways, and if I ever did want children, I would want to make sure that I'm giving them the best possible life I possibly can. And if I feel that I cannot do that while simultaneously taking care of my parents, then I just will not have them.
My favorite thing that's happening within my generation right now and the generation below me is just waking up to the fact that we as women don't have to have kids. Like, we don't have to. Absolutely no shade to the women that love having kids and want that to be their life. But majority of the women that I hang out with and are in my circle don't want kids. And it's actually so liberating and refreshing because it's like, oh yeah, we don't have to. And the reasonings are so wise and thoughtful and intelligent. And like, as my therapist once said, And it's also just like a common knowledge thing that like I feel like the people who would be the best mothers end up being the people who aren't mothers and don't choose to become mothers, because we're thinking about all of the things. We're thinking about our finances. We're thinking about if we can emotionally handle that, if we're healthy enough for that emotionally, if we have a hands-on partner, like all of the things. And if we don't have all of those things, or at least 2 out of the 3 of those things, then we're like, well, we don't want to have kids because I don't want to put my child through that. And it's so funny because the men in my age range, majority of them want kids. Of course, I'd love to be a dad. You know, I'd love to be a dad. Your mental health, your entire body, your hormones, your soul as you knew it isn't being taken away from you. So yeah, I'd love to be a dad too, but they just don't get it. And good luck, guys, finding your woman that wants children, because there's not many of us left.
It happened where my mom ran into someone who like I grew up with, and their mom was like, oh yeah, he's married, got 1 kid, another kid on the way. And I was like, Mom, did you not tell them that I just bought a fucking couch? All of us have big milestones. They all just look different.
Welcome back again, guys. And I feel like, or it's rather the truth that most people are discouraged to give birth, because why would someone have to get into a debt way before they even see their offsprings? And it doesn't guarantee you that after you've paid the debt, you will be able to take care of this kid comfortably. So most people decide to pass on the topic because having to pay so much money for only to have your own kid, and then end up having to pay another huge sum of money for the upbringing of the kid and education and all the personal effects that the kid might want during their growth, while you yourself you're struggling, maybe having to do maybe 2 to 3 jobs, is something that most Americans feel like is more, or it's more of a burden, because the salaries or the wages that people receive are not enough to give people comfortable lives that they can have kids comfortably. Most people are suffering from debts because mostly millennials and Gen Zs, would say, are drowning in the ocean of debts from their learning institutions. You see, these are people who are trying to figure out their lives. In this case, we'd say mostly the Gen Zs. These are people who are trying to figure out their lives. So if one has just completed college and they already have a huge debt behind them, this person gets demoralized to have himself another responsibility, because they are still working on trying to shed off the debt that they had from the college, and maybe they don't work, or maybe they're doing some job that doesn't pay them enough. These are people who are struggling. So having them to have kids maybe in their mid-20s and maybe 30s is hard, because these are debts that will follow them into their 30s, into their 40s maybe, depending on the type of job that one secures. And most people just don't want to continue piling problems on them. Most people are trying to reduce the amount of problems that they are undergoing, and telling a person who has a huge sum of college debt to have another kid while they are trying to service the loan given to them is wild, and it's a theory that most Americans cannot comprehend, because it will be like we'd say more of jumping out of a frying pan into the fire. People are also trying to battle the rent issue and mortgages, because at the end of the day, one has to have some shelter for themselves and maybe their family, and but there is no free shelter. People want something decent for themselves, and for you to get this, you have to work for it. So if the mortgages are high, the rents are high, in this house you have to get yourself something to eat, you have to furnish it, you have to get grocery supplies, you have to pay for your rent if you'll be renting. If it's mortgages, you have to pay for it. You find that with low income, this is close to impossible, because you'll have to lag behind in one area. And for most people, you wouldn't want to see a kid suffering, yet you have some little cash. You'd rather have them live a comfortable life than seeing them suffer. So parents are forced to either choose between working full-time or stay home and look out for their kids. And as you all know, this economy and these times, most households will need both parents to at least be working for them to live a comfortable life, or at least live to afford most of the necessities. You see, again, most people live from gig economy and unstable jobs, which offer no long-term security or benefits. These are people who are not assured of their are not assured of their insurance to be paid by the place they are working for, are not assured of whether their retirement benefits are catered for, because once you are doing a job that is short term, you are not included in their retirement benefits plan. So you'll from your little income, you'll have to also take out a little bit to pay for your retirement benefits. You'll have to pay for your health care and all the other necessities that you need for your daily running of your household and your life in general. So most people find it hard to do all these things and still bring up a baby in the same household, because without the baby, the life is already hard. Now most people are thinking, now if the baby comes in, life will be more tougher, and nobody is willing enough to bring a baby into this world only for them to see them suffering with this unstable economy. The US system also doesn't give out or pays very little parental leave or child benefits compared to other places like the UK and Europe. People are getting way much higher parental leave or child benefit compared to the US, and families feel abandoned by a system that prioritizes family over people. And this is another reason that sends people again not to have kids. It is now turning out to be so evident that most Americans stopped believing in family. The system stopped believing in them, and they stopped believing in the families, and they feel like they've had enough and they don't see the need of having families anymore. It's only until the economy changes, I think that most people will still stay with the notion of not having babies because of the rising cost of living. So those are my remarks on the topic, and I would like you to kindly like, subscribe, and share so that we can grow together. Goodbye, guys. Till next time.